Hey, what's up guys? I'm C-Love. In my last video, I showed you the pallet wood planting station. This was a somewhat challenging project that turned out great and is sure to inspire other pallet wood builds on my channel. Up next is a very similar build on a little bit larger scale, and for no reason at all, I chose to make it infinitely more difficult. It looks good now, but I'm going to show you some terrible decisions I made that you shouldn't if you want to build a similar workbench for yourself. Come on, let's take a look. The first thing I'll do is dig through my scrap and leftover pieces to salvage what I can for this project before heading to the Big Orange Home Improvement Store to show you how to properly select the lumber for your projects and the current prices of some items. I've shown the prices of items in some of my past videos so you can see how they compare to now and prices in your area. Take your time to go through this selection and try to pick out the straightest pieces. You probably shouldn't just grab the first one and burn off. If your boards are all wonky, it will make your project infinitely times 2 more difficult. After I saved what I could from my scraps, I needed to purchase 4 untreated 8-foot long 2x4s, 2 4x4 posts, and a sheet of 1/2-inch birch plywood. Back at the apartment, I'll make sure that my salvage pieces are nice and clean, and I'll take a moment to show you video of me sanding on this project, you know, in case you hadn't seen that on my channel before. Once those are ready, I'll do the same preparation for the 4 2x4s I just purchased. The Texas sun is hot enough to literally melt the roadways, so I'll use this enormous outdoor umbrella to keep the sun off me while I hurry up and get these cuts made. 2 at 6 feet and 2 at 62 inches, plus 2 at 30 inches and 2 at 27 inches, each with a 45-degree miter cut on both sides, make the perimeter of the top and bottom shelves. 3 at 27 inches and 3 at 24 inches will make the joists. I thought I was recording this part, but the heat almost melted my phone, so I ended up just recording the setup of me cutting the dowel rods that I also had to purchase into 3-inch segments. You can see I have a stack of offcuts to act as a rest for the excess, and I have a stop box set up so that I can repeatedly cut the same length pieces. It's pretty hot out here, so I'm going to do the majority of the rest of this project indoors. Back inside, I thought I would be doing the right thing by very meticulously measuring out the exact placement of my 1/2-inch dowel rods, and I've got the CAD drawing on the iPad there to make sure I'm marking everything correctly. I'm about to make the first critical error in this build coming up pretty soon though. I figured I'd be able to drill all of the holes and set all the dowels first and then go about putting this workbench together. This was a horrible idea. Instead, I'll make sure that I'm drilling my holes nice and neatly while using the drill press. This actually did help the process a little bit because if I would have drilled all the holes by hand, there's no way this would have turned out even remotely close to the way it did. I did have to drill some of the holes by hand though, and I did this by using a countersink bit to start. Then I stepped up to a 1/4 inch, then 3/8, and then finally to a 1/2 inch. I used some sandpaper to clean the holes and hopefully hide some of my user error. I ended up using a pipe cleaner to effectively spread the glue on the inside of the holes before smashing the dowel rods through. A couple of them ended up going too far, so I just pushed them back through to flush with the outside of the board. I removed the excess glue and finished setting all the dowels into the perimeter boards and took a moment to sand everything down and clean them up again. I also took the time to round off the ends of the dowel rods. Some of them mushroomed out while I was banging them in there, and it's becoming somewhat obvious to me at this point that this bench isn't going to go together exactly the way I want it to, so I'll take all the help I can get now. What I should have done to begin with is glued and screwed everything together, backed the screws out, and then drilled the holes for the dowels where the screws were. This didn't occur to me until much later in the project, so for now, I'm just going to use a technique I've seen in some other videos on YouTube. Apparently, just a tiny bit of table salt in between your wood joints will keep them from sliding on top of each other and going out of alignment. This seemed to work pretty well, so I'll use this method on the rest of the corners with my corner brackets and secure everything together as best I can. So this is where I'm at. Not feeling super confident. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm gonna hope it turns out though. We're gonna try it. You can see that my lack of confidence comes from the obvious misalignment somewhere. It's alright, I'll be able to fix this, and really, the bottom shelf is the one that's going to be the one to end up giving me all the trouble anyways. That's coming up shortly. I'll just beat the crap out of the joists here until it feels like they're all the way down after I've filled the holes with glue and properly spread it around. The next part is when it occurred to me that I should have just been securing everything together with screws and then backing them out later. I used the 3D printed corner brackets and some encouragement from not sponsored Irwin to hold everything in place while I took the easy route and fastened the corners. You can never have enough encouragement, so Irwin, if you're watching, I need some more encouragement. Next, I'll just eyeball the placement of the dowels in the corners. This comes highly not recommended from me if you are seeking perfection in your build. I was all kinds of different angles and spacing from the edges and corners, even with my hand-placed visual guide. Take the time to more precisely measure your corner dowels if you feel the need to. Repeating the process from earlier, I drilled my holes by using the countersink first, then the 1/4 inch, the 3/8, and then the half ski. glue, and set remaining corner dowels. They should stick out in just a little bit so that when you sand them down flush with the surface of your board, you won't have a little void from the drill bit. I'm sure a mistake here could be fixed with some glue and fine sawdust if desired. Carefully use a saw to cut off the excess of your dowels if you want, or just use the orbital and things will come out nice and smooth. It's amazing what a little sandpaper can hide, and here's a side-by-side before and after of a couple of the corners. I used a different method to construct the bottom shelf for some reason, and it came out kind of scary. The top came out pretty square, so once I make this cut on this 3/4 ply, it will fit on there pretty nicely. After I put some glue on the frame, I'll use an offcut from the legs to prop up the plywood while I set it down into place. Irwin hasn't contacted me yet, so I'll use all the encouragement I have to hold everything secure while I make some marks. Some time back while I was at Big Orange upgrading my tool set, I met my new great buddy Joe. He gave me this sweet 15 gauge 23-degree angled finish nailer, and I told him I'd use it in one of my future videos. I don't know if this is the best application, but I manufactured a need for this baby here, so if you have a moment, make sure and say thanks Joe in the comments section down below. He will definitely see and appreciate it very much. These are the very first shots fired with this tool, so I'll make sure and be extra careful. That should be good. Next, I'm going to flip this top over like a warm tortilla and install some corner braces for the tops of the legs that I've already cut to 39¼ inches. I'm going to be fighting with the bottom shelf, so I'll end up hiding like 30 something screws in this whole workbench to make sure it isn't going anywhere. I'm going for completion at this point, not perfection, so I'll just be happy with how it turns out. Mr. Jacob at our local home improvement store did a fine job cutting my 1/2-inch birch plywood sheet. I, however, built the bottom shelf in the shape of what is called a trapezoid, and you can see that right there. I had kilograms of enjoyment attempting to pry this bottom shelf back to as close to a rectangle as possible, and it actually worked pretty well. The corner braces that I installed on the bottom of the top shelf definitely helped give me the leverage I needed to get the bottom shelf back in line, and I attached it to the legs with 2 3-inch screws each. I followed a similar process as the top surface to attach the plywood by spreading glue where needed and attaching again with the finish nailer that awesome Mr. Joe gave me. I had a few finish nails that poked out the side and needed to be fixed. I just took a pair of needle nose pliers and folded the end over so that I was able to hammer it flush into the wood. This is a useful tip you can remember for later too. Overall, I'm very happy with the way this workbench turned out. I think it will be a good platform that I'll be able to modify in the future to better suit my needs. I took the time to move all this stuff because I thought I wanted it here on this wall, but then I ended up putting it over on that wall instead. I don't know. I also couldn't make up my mind on the spacing of the bottom shelf either. I will adjust the height of the shelf and the placement of the bench in my apartment as needed in the future. I really appreciate you taking the time to stop by my channel, sharing this video with a friend, and leaving me a comment down below. If you take the time to talk to me, I'll do the same for you. Make sure and please crush that like button if you found this video helpful or funny at all. I'll be back again in about a month with something new for you guys. Thanks so much for your support.